Well, that wasn't supposed to be there. Hello! Welcome in to the Setup Man post-game show. No worries on the Cubs end today, so we're going to get right into things on the Setup Man post-game show right now. Welcome into a winning Monday, Memorial Day edition of the Setup Man post-game show. I am Alex along with Ty, and we are back, much like Brittany, to bring you all the fun stuff today. Ty got that reference. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And I already see the comments are going off. Good vibes today after a fun weekend of baseball. And they just kept the good times rolling today, beating the Colorado Rockies. Sorry, Memorial Day, folks. Beating the Rockies 3-1 today. And Ty, this was kind of a boring game, but it was one they needed to win, and they took care of business. It just wasn't the sexiest of wins.
No, I mean, you saw it right away when they showed the weather report right at the beginning of the game. Happy Memorial Day to everyone as well. I should have mentioned that. But yeah, once you saw that the weather did show that the wind was going to be blowing in today, it built a little frustration for me throughout the game. And I know we'll talk about a few different things, of course, with today's game. It just felt like the offense played a little bit like last year when it came to not realizing that, hey, maybe the ball is not going to go out of the ballpark unless the wind completely dies like it did on Moniak's bomb. But I want to give a huge shout out to Jameson Taillon. He was tremendous today. Yes, understandably so. Possibly the worst baseball team in the history of Major League Sports, Major League Baseball. But at the end of the day, you found a way to win another ball game, and I'm excited to talk about that with you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. And again, I don't know if I said it off the top or not. Happy Memorial Day to all of you joining us, and thank you for taking time out of your holiday to join us to talk about a Cubs victory. Yeah, you had mentioned Jameson Taillon. Let's start there, actually. So he went 6 1/3 today, only gave up 1 run, but it was another homer. At what point is there? You might have a bit of a home run problem.
Yeah, it's been a little rough this year. Looking at 2025 right now, so after today's game, 7 homers given up against lefties, 8 given up against righties. In 2024, all of 2024, lefties 13 bombs, righties 8 bombs. So he's already at almost the peak when it comes, or he's already at the amount of home runs he gave up last year, which I couldn't believe when I saw that. I might have to double check that, but that looks a little crazy to me. But look, so yes, today felt like one of those days where he was going to be able to use that to his advantage in the aspect of what obviously happened with the Cubs when it came to that ball that PCA hit today, for example, that didn't get out. It felt like he was going to be using the ballpark to his advantage, and unfortunately on that one pitch it didn't work. But if we're disregarding that, okay, I will say this. In my opinion, Jameson Taillon has, I know we'll talk about some unsung heroes here in a little bit. You feel, though, as if he's holding that pitching staff strong, and I know there's other guys that, quote-unquote, have done a little bit better than he has, but since he's implemented that kick change, man, like that pitch to lefties is disgusting. And I feel like he gave up his first home run today actually on that change, which was pretty interesting. So Overall, Taillon was very, very sharp today. It was unfortunate that the home run ball came to bite him again, but it felt like he was using the ballpark to his advantage, and I felt like he was attacking the strike zone and using his off speed effectively.
Yeah, and the weird thing about his outings is a lot of these home runs seem to be solo shots, which I guess you'd rather have them just be one run at a time versus multiple, obviously. But I'd be curious to know how much, and maybe I can look this up for tomorrow's show. I'd be curious to know how many of these are solo shots because there were 3 against Miami. There was another one today. It just, it's very odd watching him pitch because much like Ben Brown, and obviously to a lesser degree, it's very, he'll be rolling along. You're like, oh, Tyon's got it today. First couple innings, oh, he's got it today. We're locked in. Then he gives it the homer. It's just like, oh, well, where'd that come from? But yeah, the changeup has totally changed his appearances, in my opinion. Just watching, it just looks different. The feel seems different. And as our Kyle Lawson in the chat, unconventional, but a W nonetheless. Yeah, they took care of business. They needed to take care of business. It just was am I wrong? This is a question for the chat and you, Ty. Am I wrong to be a little disappointed today? It's weird to be disappointed with a win that you're supposed to win a game. They won the game. I was a little disappointed though.
Well, I think where you're disappointed is because of the team that they were playing, right? You're playing the base, like I said, probably the worst team in the history of Major League Baseball. And I see a lot of fans that are saying ugly doesn't matter. As long as you get a win, that's all that matters. Look, I think where I would come from with this is that I felt like as a ball club, you come off a very emotional series win like you did in Cincinnati. You have to get on a plane, come back, play the next day in the morning, or not in the morning, but the early afternoon, which again, for these big leaguers, they're all routine based, right? So coming off of that, coming to a situation like they did today, I felt like it was going to be one of those games. Our good friend Arthur, fellow setup man member, mentioned in the chat, the Cubs won't score any runs until the 6th inning, and then they'll score 10. And I felt like that was going to happen today. I even texted my dad as well. But at the end of the day, when it comes to situations like you had today, the only part that I was disappointed in, and I alluded to this earlier, was I felt like the offense didn't play to the way the ballpark was giving it to them that day, right? And I felt like this team has done a tremendous job this year at Wrigley when it came to using the conditions to their advantage. And it just felt like today, guys like PCA, guys like Seiya, were trying to do too much in a situation where if they just done a little bit less, I felt like they would have had a lot more success today. PCA almost hit one out. I totally understand that. Yes, 29 out of 30 ballparks would have had that in the ballpark. I get that. I didn't play Major League Baseball, folks, so I can't sit here and say he's wrong for what he did. It just feels like in certain elements with these elements, why try and make something work when you know it's not going to? Right. And so, again, yes, Alex, it felt like a boring game. But when I look at the situation at hand today, I felt like winning a ball game with the circumstances at hand of coming off of a big series win, an emotional series win, getting on a flight, coming back, playing the next day early. I'll take any wins that I can. I just felt like the team should have played a little bit more to the conditions today.
1,000% agree. And I think you nailed it. I couldn't quite figure out why I was disappointed because they won. Like, we sang the song, everything was great. Dempster sang the stretch today, like everything's hunky dory, right? And then it was just like, oh, all right. And yeah, PCA. I mean, if PCA does find the basket on that one, which I'm stunned that one didn't get out. Yeah, maybe this game looks different, but it just, I don't know. They're not playing well, which is crazy to say after they just thumped Cincinnati in comeback fashion. They're not playing very well. And they're still winning games. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it was like, oh, I kind of was hoping you were going to kick some rear end today. And then it was just kind of, we did the bare minimum, which fine.
I will say this, though, and this is going back to the point I made the other day about Matt Shaw and how valuable Matt Shaw is to this ball club when he is on, because he's not a superstar, but he plays the game at a level where it's winning baseball. So, for example, bottom of the 5th, gets a 10-pitch walk to lead off the inning. Look at the Cubs playing with the conditions a little bit in that situation. Thankfully, Reese McGuire bunts him over, comes around on a 2-out RBI single by Kyle Tucker. And then in the bottom of the seventh, Matt Shaw gets an 8-pitch walk with 1 out. I don't know what in the world that pitcher from the Rockies was doing on the fielder's choice when he decided to throw to second base. Doesn't matter.
That was Little League stuff, man.
That made me go, there was no way we're losing today's game because of that decision.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Happ with his, which I thought was very encouraging, with his single to the left side. As a lefty, I felt like that was a very encouraging sign. And then, of course, comes around on the weird sacrifice fly by Kyle Tucker. That play that Matt Shaw made over at third base today, just think about what that's doing for this ball club, man. Like, you have a Gold Glover at short. You have a Gold Glover at second when Michael Busch should be in there more, but Michael Busch is over at first. Now you have Gold Glove defense, what we've seen at least Gold Glove defense across the field. So in these conditions today, they made the right decision there, which I was thankful for, but I felt like that all had to start with a guy like Matt Shaw. That at bat he had, that 10-pitch walk, was unbelievable. Because I might be going on a little rant here, but I think this is important. So Matt Shaw is at the dish. I think he swings at a fastball that's a little bit above the zone. You could tell that was super frustrating for him. And the pitcher continually tried to execute in that spot. And he just fought off. I mean, gosh, it felt like 3 or 4 pitches. And then he gets a slider down and in by his feet, takes it, goes to first base. Like those kinds of things, man. It's like those are the ways to win baseball games. I love PCA, but he didn't swing today like he was trying to have winning baseball. Even though he is in the 5-hole now, I just felt like Matt Shaw was that player today that put him in a better position to win. And I was just very encouraged by his at-bats today.
Well, and you mentioned the defense. He's had 2 plays in the last 3 days falling away. Like, that's Nolan Arenado stuff, like peak Arenado stuff, and he's making that stuff look easy. Oh, he might not have the arm. It looks like he had more than enough arm the last couple days. So that's all been super encouraging. And yes, he was taking his walks when he was up here before, but now those walks, he's grinding a little bit. He's extending those at-bats, getting better looks. I've been really impressed, even though the results may not be mind-blowing by any means, but the process of what he's doing right now at the plate and on defense has been really, really, really good. Yeah, Rojo Cube, exactly. He had that one play today, like, in foul territory, across his body, bang, right on the money, 1-hop throw. Even my dad watched the game with me. Went, Jesus, I didn't know he had that in his bag. Yeah, like, I don't think anybody did. So that was all encouraging. And I know we have a fun segment, B-Block, but I do want to get your opinion on this very quickly. So in 30 seconds or less, is it me, or when the bullpen comes into the game, do you trust them a little more? Maybe it's the mix that they're using. I feel a little more comfortable when the bullpen comes into the game, and I just want your opinion on that.
Yeah, what I'll say is this: I feel like that it's not the bullpen, it's Jed and it's the upper management at this point.
Interesting. Okay,
I feel like I am trusting in them more and more and more because with Julian Merriweather getting DFA'd, could you imagine what that did to that bullpen? Could you imagine the wake up call that really realistically they didn't need? But to make it short, I trust the bullpen now based on the decisions made by upper management to where I feel comfortable watching guys go out there. The only guy right now I'm a little iffy on is I want to say it's Presley, but this could go on. I don't want to go on too much more, but just Presley today didn't really wasn't a thrilling outing. But at the end of the day, I feel like the Cubs have made the decisions they need to make this bullpen efficient, and I feel like there's a sense of urgency.
That's actually a great spin and a great take on it. Yeah, when they come into the game, I'm not like, oh, God, here comes the pen. I'm like, oh, hey, this guy's coming in. All right. Hey, Pomerantz is coming in. All right. And speaking of, well, actually, before we get to our next segment, we do have some injury news that I want to get to very quickly. So we have some injury updates on some key players per Craig Counsell today before the game. Shota Imanaga will throw a bullpen session on Wednesday. So that is good news. Ty, you texted me or tweeted this at me. This one just angers me. Porter Hodge is, quote, not making progress. Team is looking into why. He has an oblique injury, and you had him throw. I wonder what happened. Ridiculous. You sent me that, and I was so upset. And do you want to get something off your chest before I keep moving on? Because this is just the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
Fair warning, everyone. We're not medical professionals, right?
Yes, true.
But when I played and I was hurt and I went to go throw 3 days after, my coach would say, "Are you hurt or are you sore?" And that was just a little of,
I think that's the perfect dismount.
I'm just so like, it's the most confusing.
Ridiculous.
I don't know what is like happening when it comes to these injuries. I've never been more confused and also not knowledgeable enough about a topic, but been confused about something where you go, is it not just obvious? Why is that guy touching a baseball, man?
Yeah.
Like, who allowed him to touch a baseball like 2 or 3 days after he has an oblique injury?
Yeah.
What in the world? Like, okay. Oh man, like this injury can be like season ending. Like this thing can linger on like a hamstring issue for a player. And he goes out and throws 3 days after.
Because they want to keep his arm active. Their quote's not mine.
On to the next segment, please.
Okay. Well, we got 2 more injury things. Quick. Miguel Amaya will have imaging tomorrow on his oblique injury. So further updates on that after the imaging is done. And then, speaking of oblique injuries, Javier Assad played catch today for whatever that's worth. So just something to keep an eye on there. Now, fun segment for today. We know who the stars of the Chicago Cubs are. We've talked plenty about PCA, Kyle Tucker, Shota Imanaga. We talked ad nauseum about these guys. But you have your vets, you have your stars, but what about the other guys? So who are those other guys? These are the guys that we need to bring some love and attention to because they are having outstanding seasons. And not just us, but the Cubs community as a whole is not talking about these guys. And we're starting with one of the most underappreciated Cubs, I think, of the last 5 years. That is Mr. Nico Hoerner, who continues to play Gold Glove defense. And this year is hitting .294 with a .338 on-base percentage. He's got 11 stolen bases and 24 RBIs. And the biggest thing that I did while researching this, with runners in scoring position, he is hitting .436. That is insane. That is video game numbers. So in clutch situations, he is more likely to come through than not. And yet nobody is talking about Nico Hoerner. I rest my case.
Look, you did a great job with him. And again, it's so funny to think about this too. He didn't even have a spring training.
Yeah, I didn't even think
How
about
crazy is that? And people thought that he was rushed in that situation as well. But look, Nico Hoerner has, in my eyes, is what I hope Matt Shaw is better than at a certain point. Because I love the way Nico Hoerner plays the game of baseball. Obviously, from a home run standpoint and a slug standpoint, yes, he's not your typical guy that you want to see in that department. But that goes back to a little bit more of the traditionalist, in my case, where when you can grind out at bats, key one this past weekend was against Hunter Green, which knocked him out early. And that led to them having the chance to fight against the bullpen later in the game. Those little things, right? Defensively, first in assists at second base before today's game at 129. That is second in all of baseball, just behind Bobby Witt Jr. Defensively, the other day when Cade Horton was on the bump in the first inning against the Marlins, Cade Horton doesn't have that performance without Nico Hoerner making that diving play at second base in the first inning to get the third out. At the dish, the only stat that I wish I could find, and I would love to see if somebody can find it on here, is his pitches per at bat. Because you're talking about a player that realistically is, for a lot of pitchers, probably besides Tucker, is going to be, and maybe Hap when he's on, is their toughest at bat, because of the fact that Hoerner can extend ABs for an extensive period of time, right? And he can extend it to, we've seen the 8, 9, 10 pitch at bat. Overall, Nico Hoerner is a player that is underappreciated in the game today because exit velo and homers have taken away from what the game of baseball really is, and that's about scoring runs. And how you do that, you grind out at bats, you take your walks, you hit your hard hit singles to the right side or through the gap, and that's how you win baseball games. And so I couldn't agree more with you, Alex. I feel like he's just a guy that's undervalued because of the way that baseball is today, but we are not a successful ball club this year without the help of Nico Hoerner.
Absolutely not. As much as I have loved Matt Shaw, let's say Nico went down for whatever reason and they moved Shaw to second. Well, we already know what the options are there. It's a lot of Bruhan and Birdie, and he's just so valuable for the type of team that they want to be. And even if he's not hitting homers, he's driving in runs and he's putting pressure on the bases, whether it's just getting on base for the other guys to hit him in or just making traffic, and maybe not as high of a level as PCA, but he's creating problems on the base pass. So it's just, he's been undervalued. And again, these are guys we haven't talked about enough. Next one that you and I both had when we were doing this before the show, we need to give some love to Caleb Thielbar. We haven't talked about him nearly enough. He's a left-handed pitcher, specifically to get out left-handed batters. You know what he does? Get out left-handed batters. His numbers against left-handed batters this year, left-handed batters against him are batting, this is a real stat that really threw me, .071, which is outstanding. On base, .182. And in general, there are 2 for 28 against Caleb Thielbar. Let me just say it one more time. They have 2 hits in 28 plate appearances. That is insane. And yet, I remember in early April, we're like, oh God, this Thielbar guy sucks. DFA him. And he, in his role against left-handed batters, has been spectacular.
He's been tremendous. And how funny is it that all of last year, his name was Mark Leiter Jr., who was our lefty specialist. Oh, wait, he was a right-hander. That is no offense to Mark Leiter Jr., but it's just nice to see the Cubs actually be a little bit more, I would say, trying to use their assets to their greatest ability. And while I love Leiter Jr., it felt like there were times last year where it felt like they were just pushing it because they didn't have any other options.
Yeah.
Caleb Thielbar has been someone within the last, since April 15th, okay, 13 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, 4 walks to 13 Ks. He has not given up a homer this year. So talk about bullpen, right? Imagine if Caleb Thielbar continued to be what he was. Remember in Arizona, in some of those situations at the beginning of the season, he's turned it around. Right now, looking at his stats, this is unbelievable. So he has a .240 batting average against when it comes to his four-seamer, but 143 on his curveball, .083 on his sweeper, and .091 on his slider, according to Baseball Savant.
It's crazy.
Look, I would say right now, in situations, him and Pomeranz have been unbelievable, but Thielbar, for what he turned into after what he looked like at the beginning of the season, makes him an unsung hero in my heart, just because of the fact that he's been here longer. And I sense that he's going to become a guy over the course of the season that will be pivotal to this team winning the division.
He might already be there when he comes into the game. That's one of the reasons I don't worry so much about this bullpen at the moment. It's like, oh, Thielbar's in? All right, cool. Pomeranz, another one. I've given him a lot of love on this show, so he's not a part of my other guys segment today. But these type of guys that they just keep finding are why they're so pivotal. And one of these guys is a homegrown guy. So my next nominee, because now we're going to go back and forth, which I'm excited for. So my nominee here, Daniel Palencia. he's now our ipso facto closer, and he has been really, really good. So most of his pitching appearances this season have come in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. In high leverage situations, per Baseball Reference, he's had 8 games in those types of situations. His batting average against is only 150. Only 2 walks. That's insane. That was his biggest problem as a big leaguer. Is the ball was like, oh boy, you don't know where this thing's going. Only 2 walks in high leverage situations, 6 strikeouts, and if you include today, he now has 3 saves on the season. And as I said before, is essentially their closer for the time being. And who knows if Porter Hodge isn't improving, maybe for the foreseeable future. And after today, he also lowered his season ERA to $1.93. So Daniel Palencia, not enough love for what he's been able to do. And this is more of not just this season, just in his career, going from, oh God, I don't know if this is a guy, to now he's closing games for a contending team.
Yeah, and I think that we've given a lot of shade to the Cubs organization for their pitching development, right? That's been a sort of a issue that a lot of people would say has held them back in certain instances over the last couple of years, right? We're starting to see what their development is turning into, right? A guy like Cade Horton, now he's starting big league games for him, right? Number 1 prospect. But with the bullpen side of things, okay, like Luke Little, Palencia, some of these other guys that you've just gone, man, they seem to have it, then they don't. They seem to have it, then they don't. This is the first time where I've gone, besides probably Porter Hodge, where I went, okay, we got something here. We finally found something within this guy. Because if you watched, and I mentioned this in another show as well, if you watch Palencia's outings the last couple of years, they've been very, very stressful based on the fact of you're concerned about the batter's health and you're concerned about where this ball is about to go. And I give a lot of credit to them for turning this one around, because they could have done the route they did with Estrada, which they could have said, you know what, we're just done with this guy. And look where Estrada is now. He's on the Padres. He's one of the, if I'd have to check today, I haven't checked his numbers here in a little bit, but last year he was the talk of the town because we thought, man, we cannot figure this out with any of our internal arms. We finally did with Palencia. I'm excited to see what he can do over the year. And he's a godsend right now with the Hodge news. So.
Absolutely. And all right, Ty, you had a couple nominees that you wanted to surprise me with. So who are your nominees for the quote unquote other guys?
I'll be quick. I just want to see if you possibly guess the significance of this number, but 28. Can you guess the significance of that?
28. Would that be? It's probably not, but different relievers used this season, because it feels like it's been a revolving door.
That's why when I texted you, I go, this might be a little bit of a weird number, but the thing that not necessarily the hero, but the heroes, in my opinion, are the catchers along with the pitchers, because of the fact that they've only allowed 28 stolen bases this year thus far. That's the fourth lowest in baseball. Right? Didn't it feel like last year, and I apologize that I don't have these numbers, so might be just saying this off the top of my head, but didn't it feel like last year the running game was a little bit uncontrollable or unbearable to watch when it came to the defensive side of our team? I have to give a lot of love to these guys, because for Carson Kelly, for Miguel Amaya, and also, folks, it also is relied upon about the relievers and the starters on the bump, because at the end of the day, you can have a strong arm behind the dish, but if you cannot be quick to the plate and also give your catcher a chance to be able to throw guys out. So I'd like to collectively make that a whole sort of, what do you want to call it? But, just honor towards them, because I felt like that is something that I did not necessarily know about. And I was just casually looking today. 28, man. It's incredible.
Crazy.
For example, Marlins have 79.
Holy.
So just put it in perspective, folks.
I almost just cursed
really
on
good.
There. That's a massive number. Holy cow. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I remember there were multiple times last season where listening to podcasts or even just listening to local Chicago radio, it was, oh God, they got the Reds or the Brewers or whoever, like they're just going to run all day. Like, don't let them get on base. And the fact that that's totally turned around is a credit to Amaya and Carson Kelly, as you said. So, I mean, we wanted to point this out because while things are good, we all know, okay, PCA is a star. Kyle Tucker's a star. But these guys are not getting enough attention for what they've been able to accomplish this season. So that is our segment on the other guys. Let's get a quick word in from our sponsor / partner at Obvious Shirts.
Setup Nation, I want to take a quick break so that you know how you can support our channel and wear some cool swag like this. We've teamed up with Obvious Shirts to give you a chance to have your very own Setup Man shirt or hat. Pick from 3 different types of shirts or my personal favorite, the trucker hat. Go to the link in the description of this video and podcast to claim your Setup Man apparel. And thank you so much for supporting our channel.
All right. Thank you indeed for supporting our channel. And I don't know if technically Obvious Shirts is a sponsor, but I'm going to call them a sponsor. So I said that. I'm like, actually, I'll have to ask Kyle on that.
Just go with it, man.
Yeah, we're just rolling with it. Speaking of rolling with it, Cubs are going to continue to roll tomorrow because they have the Rockies still in town for game 2 of their 3-game series. Tomorrow, summer's here. No longer 6:30 start times. It is a 7:05 start time tomorrow. The Cubs will be taking on Germain Marquez or German Marquez. I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know. We'll say Germain. Germain Marquez, who this season has been brutal. He's got a 1-7 record with a 7.66 ERA in 47 innings pitched, only 26 strikeouts. Career against the Cubs, not much better. 8 games against the Cubs in his career. He is 1 for 3 with a 6.75 ERA in 40 innings pitched, 6 homers allowed, and 40 Ks. So, offensively, go to work. You got some yard work to do. Bust out the rakes. And for the Cubs, it'll be Cade Horton, who is 2-0 on the season, a 4.40 ERA with 10 strikeouts. Obviously, his first outing against the Rockies. His last outing against the Marlins, much better. He went 5 1/3 through 90-plus pitches for the first time in his professional career. Only gave up 1 earned run, walked 3, and struck out 3. So, game 2 tomorrow, Ty, much of the same, right? That should be the expectation.
Absolutely, yeah. And Wednesday looks a little weary on rain, so I'm hoping that they're able just to knock off tomorrow, and hopefully we get to able to play Wednesday as well. But with what we've seen from the Cubs this year, is it feels like we're going to have that one blowout game, right, where we absolutely tear the cover off the ball on offense. Pitching does its job. I'm hoping that one is tomorrow or Wednesday, hopefully tomorrow. But you needed to have that game where you're able to win that 3-1, 2-1 close game. So I was very proud to see them do that today. Look, there's going to be scouting reports and everything that says what they're going to face tomorrow with Marquez, right? All I ask is that with the weather conditions, if the wind is blowing in again, can we play a little bit more small ball, please? Can we please just start to hit the ball, line drives, put the ball on the ground, hit and run, do whatever you got to do, because it's very frustrating when we have like a performance like we had today with Jameson Taillon, and we're facing the worst starting rotation in all of baseball with one of their starters, and that's how we perform. So look, if we're looking at tomorrow's game, get after Marquez early. It was great to see Happer start to look like Happer there towards the end of the game. So that's a really good sign. As I always say, you go, we go. So that's going to be encouraging tomorrow, hopefully. And I want to see guys, I want to see from Cade Horton tomorrow I want to see where he's using this team that he's facing to his advantage, which is that he's facing another team that's on the lower level of the major leagues, right? Faced the Marlins last time, looked okay. It didn't look so great in the first couple of innings, really found it towards the back end. So use that as momentum going into this game. Look, it's not rocket science, folks. Score a lot of runs tomorrow. Give the opportunity for Cade to make his mistakes, because I don't want to rely on Cade Horton to win our game tomorrow. Hopefully our offense can take advantage of, the way Marquez is thrown this year. And I think that could lead us in a much better position than we would if Cade Horton has to keep us in the game tomorrow.
Absolutely. It's a cupcake spot for not only the Cubs offense, but for Cade Horton as well. So, yeah, continue to take care of business. You should sweep this series. If you don't, it's not the end of the world, because you kind of banked an extra win with that Cincinnati series. But, yeah, take care of business. Cade Horton, go out there, have some fun, young man, and get after it tomorrow. So with that said, Ty and I will be back tomorrow night after Cubs take on the Rockies. Hopefully we are celebrating another W. For today, thank you for spending your Memorial Day with us. Go enjoy your barbecues. Now that I'm assuming Yeah, 5:30 Central. Most people are probably grilling at this point. So go enjoy your barbecues. Have a beer for us. And with that said, Ty and I will be back tomorrow. We are going to go ice up in the meantime. We will see you tomorrow. Fly the W.